Alright guys, welcome back. So AMD, it's been a while since we have looked at this name. So AMD at the moment trading 103. So what I'm watching from here for the stock. So we know all market is pretty much in a very anxious, uncertain mode right now. But relatively speaking, if you take a look at the overall market, I was looking at the heat map of semiconductors. You can see yeah, there are certain names are down significantly more than AMD, but on average, well, so year to date, 14.5%. That's where we are for AMD, Nvidia, 18% down. So basically, both of them are underperforming S&P 500, which is only down 10%. If you take a look at Broadcom, which is 27% down. So, but as an index, semiconductors since 2024, again, this is my opinion. Semiconductors, in my opinion, have been in a bear market since July of last year, basically, where we had this huge down and never tested these highs, and we are sort of forming this huge distribution channel. But we're gonna get to it. I mean, longer view for me is, yeah, look at this weekly. We can just compare it with ARK just quickly. So a lot of people, I think, have been looking at it in a similar fashion where ARK Invest, you can see innovation ETF, what it has done. It did distribute for a year, flushed down, and then pretty much bubble popped. Same thing, a lot of people have an idea for semiconductor bubble to get burst in the next like 12, 18 months. And a lot of people think that SMH has another 20-25% downside, and a lot of people thinking that this is a distribution channel, including me, but we're not talking about that far. My views are ultra short term, and I'm just a trader. I don't invest and hold long term because I don't know what's going to happen like in the next 12 to 24 months. So, but the relative strength right here is that SMH is a semiconductor ETF, right? If you take a look at the March, the lows, and then very recent flush down, and then Monday, you can see it made a fresh new low, and then it bounced off of those levels. Versus AMD, on the other hand, it did not make a new low. It did stay above these recent lows, which is forming certain sort of a negative divergence for me, positive divergence for me, compared to the index as a whole, where you can see it has higher low. So for me, anytime, so if overall market starts trying to catch a bid and we start bouncing, I think AMD can go higher above these. Well, okay, let me just show the very first level. So on my chart, this line right here, this is a yellow line, which is a 50-day mode average. This is the resistance. So to be fair, right here, right now, AMD below all of its moving averages, right? So regardless of it's having this divergence here, we don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the week. But if overall market, in my opinion, starts catching a bit, and if AMD stays at these levels, and if overall market just basically, even if market starts going a little bit lower, if it does stay above $100 levels and stays here just chopping around and don't flush down, that would mean that a lot of people parking the money here because this has significantly more discount compared to other semis out there. And I would be watching 50-day moving average, this yellow line on my chart, very first confirmation level. A few days ago, we had this stock above it, and we had this sort of a like 20% rally in a matter of like 2 weeks or so. We had a 20% rally. So essentially what I'm saying, if we get back above 50-day mode average, why not for this name go push towards 130? And again, this could be your bear market rally, just like it has done on its way down right here. You can see when it gets oversold, when it gets overextended, it tends to bounce. And that's what I'm basically looking for. So if it does have some sort of consolidation here and then builds above 106, 107, Sure, next level 115. This is the resistance. This is where a lot of people started shorting it, and I mean this was the support right here and became a resistance now. So this would remain pretty solid resistance, but above that it has a potential towards 200-day moving average. So to the downside, I mean if it does flush with the market and if market has more downside to go, then 95. Bigger picture, there's a trend line. I think in the past I have shown, if you're new to the channel, we were talking about this trend line where I was watching and saying that yeah, maybe this stock goes towards 80 bucks, and I think I have made a thumbnail about that as well. So that would be really good area to consider some sort of a swing long at around these levels. So if it cracks 95, sure, 82, 83-ish, I would be watching, and stock is not reporting earnings up until May 5th or 6th or something like that. But relative strengths, even if you take a look at the MACD on a daily as well, I was looking at stock was making lower lows, and you can see right here. This was the divergence actually, and it played out just fine where we had 20% rally, and we're still basically on a MACD. We have a positive basically trend while stock is trying to go lower. But if we do hold above these $100 levels, I'm going to be watching AMD towards 115 and potentially 125, 130. That would be like 25% rally. On the other hand, yeah, overall market does not look good. Weakness is coming from overall tech names, and you can see this is year-to-date heat map of S&P 500, where yeah, I mean most of the large cap, basically Mag 7 was the one. I mean these are the names that were contributing the most for this drag down, because if you take a look at everything else, I mean everything else is doing fine. I mean, of course, there are some select names that are not doing well because of AI. Again, even if you look at the industrial names, I mean, if people are concerned about data centers and basically DeepSeek doing same thing as, I mean, ChatGPT and at the 10 times less money, why would we need to build so much? And that's why, I mean, that these industrial names got hit as well versus everything else. So the air defense, they were doing well. Energy, utilities were doing well. Healthcare, of course. These are like defensive names. Insurance names. These are all defensive names that are doing very well. In fintech, I mean, MasterCard, Visa outperforming the heck out of the market as well. And if you take a look at the consumer defensive names are as well outperforming the S&P 500. So weakness is here in tech. So my basically take is, if tech starts to catch a little bit of a relief bounce, I think it can go higher. And for AMD, I was also looking at the largest orders, and again, this is just purely my take, okay? So I think right here a lot of people started to accumulate AMD, and these levels of like 115, it's a solid resistance because there were a lot of sellers right here in January, in February, and now in March. I think these were the dip buyers, like largest orders. Again, I'm filtering out by the $500,000 or more, and you can see, I mean, this is 115 is a pretty solid resistance, even 120, 122. But ultra short term, I think some sort of an accumulation was happening in the last like month or so, in my opinion. And I'm considering all these orders that came in, and as they came in, stocks started pushing as dip buyers. And again, right here as well, I think people are started to buy this dip as well. Maybe some people took a profit at these levels, but all these names, I mean, all these buyers right here. So as long as AMD holds that 95, I'm going to consider all these orders that came in at these levels in the beginning of the March as people who basically started accumulating. And we can see this name if overall market, I mean, bear market can have pretty crazy rallies, and a lot of people are super pessimistic, and I'm basically contrarian. When everybody's super optimistic, if you just go back to my channel videos, I'm going to remain contrarian. If people get super bullish, this is exactly I flip my bias. So I have no problem with this S&P 500, of course. With 10% rally, pullback, I have no problem imagining we pushing towards 6,000. So that's the idea. I mean, if something, we're going to do something like this, again, it could not look like a V shape. It might be like a choppy, like sideways grind up. And if that happens, I would be watching for relative strengths on AMD in terms of the basically AI chipmaker names to watch to the upside. But so far, yes, it is still in a downtrend. Okay, if you look at it larger time frames, sure, it can go down towards 82. That would be another support area if it cracks 95. So this is my take. Again, I don't want to make this video too long. This is pretty much update for AMD. And these videos are not a buy or sell recommendation. These are purely for educational and entertainment purposes only. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. We'll take a look at the option market next time, but this time I think this is it. Thanks for watching.